right, we have Matthias here from a very small company that's not well known, Open Zeppelin.
Appreciate it.
No, it's great to have you over here, Matthias. And want to talk to you just to have a good conversation today about what you guys are building, what you guys are working on, and kind of what you contribute to the space. We know that you work well with us here at the Texas Blockchain Council, and we appreciate all the contributions that you guys do. So, what are you working on?
Of course. Well, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. It's good to be, connected, to be here at Consensus, to get involved with the community. And again, appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be here and be able to talk to our community and continue the efforts that we work on together. But for those that may not know, Open Zeppelin is a blockchain security company, one of the leading companies in the space. How we're most well known, though, is actually through our smart contract open source libraries. So if you're a developer and you're building with smart contracts, you more than likely have stumbled across our materials. We are some of the most trusted and most secure code bases out there, and that's for people building everything, including DeFi and NFTs. And in fact, the top 50 DeFi and NFT protocols use our technology. You can inspect all this publicly online, but on top of that, Open Zeppelin has produced a massive range of audits. So we work with some of the top tier 1 projects in the space, whether it's Coinbase, the Ethereum Foundation, Compound, you name it. And we're really just involved with making the space more secure so that when we get to this next journey of the next billion, we're ensuring that they're having a safe experience being a part of the Web3 community.
Security is one of those things where people don't appreciate it until you wish you had it, right? It's like insurance. You get there and you're like, it's fine, until you get, until you get rugged, and then you're, it's like identity theft. It's not something that crosses your mind until once it happens and your life is miserable. You look back and go, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and integrate that now. And you guys have really taken that approach. How has your approach to the space evolved over time?
Yeah, Open Zeppelin started as, just a small core team of developers building out smart contract libraries, and very quickly grew their name in the space by providing what was considered the standard and contributing to standards within Ethereum. From that, after many, many years of continued investment from the organization, which is, again, not VC funded, we completely ground up, building out these open source tools, being able to go from there and then leveling up and providing audits. We actually completed the first audit in the blockchain space. And so being able to have that as kind of the top and the bottom, if you're looking at the Web3 community, right? The developers that are building all the technology use technology for free. And then once you've built your project into this, a much bigger thing where you're bringing in millions of dollars from the ecosystem and you're providing value, that's when you need to ensure that you keep security at the forefront. And from there, we've evolved, right, where a one-time audit is not enough. A lot of these projects will have an audit, build new code. How do you actually ensure that your innovations are secure as you continue to build out what your community needs? And that's where we've really expanded our offering to be kind of a full suite blockchain security solutions organization as well. So we work hand in hand with some of the top projects, named a few of them. Additional ones to name as well would be like Matter Labs. We've worked very closely with them in advising, audit preparedness, audits themselves, and then helping them deploy, and then preparing incident response plans is another thing we offer for the community. So it's really evolved from just being the very first stage, starting developing smart contracts, to now taking you from your first to your last step and then continuing through innovation.
Yeah, no, it seems, I think we've had a few people stop by the booth and, as far as for speaking, and you guys are advising on all of them. So, is there any other security company out there besides you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of incredible companies in the space, too many to name. And it's a great ecosystem, right? I always joke that we're almost frenemies in this ecosystem, because typically in Web 2, these would all be, oppositional organizations. But here we really do try and work together to elevate what it is to be the standard of blockchain security. And when novel attack vectors come out, how do we release research? How do we release audits publicly so that, the entire organization and ecosystem, can actually elevate?
And I mean, you mentioned there's the evolving attack vectors. If those attack vectors affect everybody that's involved in the space, and I think that's something that people don't appreciate as much until after the fact. Kind of like we were saying a little bit earlier. Where do you see where are you seeing the highest priority at the moment for security and the need for y'all services that's maybe not appreciated as much?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think at the level of security, when we're thinking about Web3, a lot of people think about protocol level security, right? And that's important, but when you're building on top of protocols, that's when there's new attack vectors. And once these protocols evolve, that's when different attack vectors come in. When you're connecting more protocols and blockchains together and looking at a multi-chain feature, even more abilities for entry. So I think for us, it's really important to continue to support these best practices, publish research from our incredible blockchain security research team and ensure that we're getting out new upgrades to the community as these protocols evolve, and we're working closely hand in hand with these protocols to advise on their changes. It's really about ensuring that we're elevating the quality of content that's out there as well. There's again, it's an extremely new space, so every time there's an innovation, there's a multitude of attack vectors that can arise. So our job,
the more complex it gets, the easier it is to break.
The more complexity, exactly. And for all intents and purposes, blockchain started out as simple as possible, and we're continuing to add complexity, which is extremely important to get to these use cases that bring on the next billion, as we're all talking about in this current age.
Do you think most people, to kind of get to that point, do you think people will see it, or do you think it's seamless? What does that look like for you?
That's a great question. One of my favorite comments when we're talking about where we're at in this space, I say, when you use Ethereum, you're using Ethereum, right? You're very aware. It's not on accident. And so I think once we get to that phase where you didn't know, right, where it's seamless, where, my mom, she's a linguistics professor, she's brilliant, but tech isn't her thing, right? When she's interacting with Ethereum, when she's getting an NFT and she doesn't know that it's, maybe it just has a little powered by, that's what I feel like is when we'll have gotten to the next phase. But for now, it is still a high barrier to just interact. And, to just do something like social media. We're still connecting the pieces that'll enable you to do that decentralized. But in a lot of ways, it is still growing and scaling and has high either barriers to entry, whether it's cost or user experience, and oftentimes both.
It's just you see friction across and so how do you lower that friction? Is that something that you guys are working on? Is that something that is on your radar?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The way that we see it is really by supporting a lot of the different players in the ecosystems, whether it's NFT projects, dApps, DeFi protocols, or base layer protocols, like supporting Ethereum, bringing in account abstraction. We were the auditors for ERC 4327, and we went through a lot of the different end user use cases and how does that come all the way back to the protocol level? What does that mean for security, and how can developers build against that? And from my perspective, I think today, the best user experience we can have is ensuring everything is safe. So once we have safety and security at the forefront, at the dApp level, at the contract level, and at the protocol level, that coupled with, clean UX and mimicking kind of these Web 2 experiences is what's going to take us to the next level. But until we have more
foundations there, you can't put the walls up.
Exactly. As I said, we have probably eight out of 10 headlines are about hacks. And, maybe one or two are about new technology and actual innovative use cases. Once we see that flip, once we see the pendulum swing, I'm really excited. And again, it just also tells me how early we are in the space to be able to be working on these problems and still have so much, headway to go.
Yeah, one of the things I've seen that y'all have done a great job at is talking about security, not just from a software perspective, but also from how the process is used. Also incorporating that financial incentive standpoint where something would work. Something works technically, but then once you add in the financial component of how that works in the financial markets, the incentives are out of line so that that's what causes it to break. So you're looking at it from a holistic perspective, not just on that coding side.
Yeah, exactly. And to add to that, a lot of the work that we've expanded upon is doing, full suite blockchain security solutions. And that does incorporate advising, that does incorporate, risk assessment, it incorporates, bug hunting and all the more technical things, but it's important for us to also make assessments of how would this play out once it's live. What are the user behaviors? What are the, potential additional factors, whether it's economic models that they're, using as assumptions. And we do inspect every piece of the code and the ramifications as to what that means when it goes live. So it's important to not just look at code as just the code, but also how are people going to interact with this? What are the use cases of it?
What are people going to do?
Exactly.
People will break it. How are they going to break it? How do I break it for them so that they fix it already?
Exactly. Our goal is to hack it first, right? So you come to us, we're like white hat hackers, ethical hackers that are on your team, and we help advise against all of these other potential exploits outside of just the code itself, but also user behavior and those sorts of things.
What do y'all see is a good point at which a developer should reach out to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we're looking at the contracts, if you're at the very early parts of your journey, we have incredible resources for early stage developers. If you're looking towards deployment of your contracts, right, once you're going to deploy, you want to keep them secure. We have an incredible platform offering. It's called Defender. You can find it within our website, but there's a free trial that's extremely generous that allows you to deploy and secure your smart contracts, have automations, do monitoring with AI bots so that they can detect anomalies. And that really does kind of help support a lot of these, a lot of the different projects. And then if you've gone past this level, right, where you have a bigger project. You're bringing in some, a large amount of value and total value locked or tons of users, and you're trying to ensure that your product is going to go live with, or going live for a major launch. You need to get an audit, and that's when you come reach out to us once your code is developed, you're getting ready for testnet, or you're going to mainnet, and you want to ensure that all of the checks and balances are done. That's when we really work with a lot of the top projects, is auditing their code before release, and then once they've released, ensuring that we have subsequent audits for innovations and advancements and any incident response that may need to occur. So
I'm a little slow. So what do you consider total value locked as a decent amount to reach out to?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a balance, because some projects will have no total value locked because they're ahead of launch, right?
Right. Yeah.
But we're working with Compound. They've got $2 billion, within their ecosystem. Obviously, if you're
that's
an easy answer, right? Easy bucket.
Robert, you definitely need to be involved.
If you're in the, if you're breaching the million, you're going up past 10 NEMs, you're building a really massive ecosystem and you're scaling. You need to provide security. Definitely make sure you're being audited even before those stages, right? You need to be ensuring that you have audits, formal verification if that's something that's needed. But what we provide is a much more encompassing, high quality, white glove approach to of the top auditors in the space, going through each code line by line. So, it's important to be prepared for that type of an audit as well. Having your code audit ready is really important. And I guess that's more impactful really than the TVL. Do you have your code at the ready, and do you have the potential to, work with the top projects in the space and want to be one of them? It's important to be ensuring that you have the highest quality of scrutiny on your code before it goes out to the masses. When you have both white hat and black hat hackers looking at your code, and bug bounties are extremely important as well in general. But again, you can never urge enough security. And we're happy to talk to projects at any stage, right? We want to ensure that if we're not at the right fit, or if they still have some room to grow before we're able to work together, that we can advise them to get to the right steps to get their code audit ready, or simply to just say, hey, yeah, let's work together and let's get you ready for launch as soon as possible. We want to go from code freeze to go live as quickly as possible, and that's our goal. It's out this space.
Without a bunch of people you hitting the news, you don't want to hit the news for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
You want to be able to...
Not all press is good press, especially not in this space. I think that there's been a lot of really intense press lately, and I think it's also good for this ecosystem to continue to keep security at the forefront while we innovate. Innovation is important. Security is, arguably more important.
Well, I think we talked a little bit off camera before, but we're not going to onboard institutions, family offices. No one's going to put a significant amount of capital into a project or into an ecosystem that doesn't take place security at top of mind. And projects are trying to get published without running through those checks and balances. They're probably going to attract temporary capital. They may be able to get some temporary capital, but it's gonna limit some of the scale to the operation. Switching gears completely on Open Zeppelin. How'd you get into the blockchain space? Like, what was your origin story?
Yeah, so my origin story actually starts with an old Google Chrome extension predating Reddit, which was called Stumble Upon.
Okay, yeah.
And if you know it, it takes me way.
We just dated ourselves.
No, we just dated ourselves. Apologies.
Stumble Upon was like the mecca. Yeah,
mecca. You put in your interests, and you'd yes and no, and you'd stumble, and you'd end up on random things, amazing things, who knows what, and you'd teach the algorithm, if you will. And one day I stumbled upon the Satoshi white paper, and I was like, wow, this thing is interesting. And when we were growing up, everything was everything, email, this, that. I remember as a kid, my family is from everywhere. My family's from Buenos Aires, where they've had a lot of economic, ups and downs, which has actually started a lot of crypto movement. Even Open Zeppelin was, comes from Buenos Aires in that era. But in that advent of the everything and having family all over the world, and I used to collect all these, the money from here and there, I thought of, in the future there might be an e-coin or something, right? E-dollar. And then I saw this Bitcoin thing with that real cryptography, and I was like, this is probably the thing that I was hypothecating. And honestly, if I'm going to go through all the thoughts of myself as a child, I only thought that we would have a unified money is if we got attacked by aliens, because I only figured we would all unify but attacked by something outside, because that was the pattern I saw as a kid. So anyway, through all that, I saw Bitcoin. I looked at it. I had barely $20 that I could access to my name, especially digitally, back then. And I Googled some things about how to use it, and I couldn't figure out really how to download all the things you needed and do all the technical stuff. It's a lot of work, but I remember the price was 5 cents a Bitcoin.
Oh my God.
Or around there, right in order. And one day at college, I was in there at the cafeteria, and I see the screen, Bitcoin reaches, $1,400, and I just, about spit out my cereal at breakfast.
Like, well, that 20 would be 400 Bitcoins. That
might maybe never work again, especially being in Iowa. I was going to be good. I'm, from Minnesota, was in college in Iowa. So I saw this. No one was talking about crypto in Iowa. No one was talking about blockchain. And, this at least had my eyes on it when I got my first job out of there. A buddy was telling me, I heard about Bitcoin. What do we do? I was like, let's grab a little bit. And, it was, just sort of, it was at a low price still, especially by today's standards, but extremely high compared to the first time I'd heard about it. And so that always got me into it. I was watching on the sidelines. I found out about Ethereum early on, and, I jumped in and, followed the community. And then one day I realized that there's an opportunity to work in it. For me, it was a technology that's decentralized that exists. I didn't realize that there's really the ability to devote my life as, when I was doing this product marketing, bring that into a completely new ecosystem and be at the advent of what is, the new internet, if you will.
That's great. That's great. Well, what can we do as the Texas Blockchain Council? What can we do to help, do you think, facilitate people working together between different protocols, between, what needs to be done from a regulatory side or from a community side for us to work together rather than, butt heads between different, we have our own little tribe that we're butting heads with. Like,
of course.
Where do you see the collaboration coming in the space, and how do we facilitate that?
I really see it around solving problems, right? And that's just how I see technology needs to evolve, right? Look at the problems and solve them, design for those needs, and then be able to bring in what is the right fit. Don't try and create a technology, market it out, right? So it doesn't work that way. So what are the unified problems that we have? There's a lot of, what we would consider companies that are the biggest in the world are just middlemen, right? Airbnb owns no houses, Uber owns no cars, right? If you're able to decentralize this technology, if you're able to take away, a centralized entity that controls this and, can do things like affect local legislation and make regulations go in their favor, that's one side of it, is bringing out, letting code do the work in between, letting a smart contract connect A to B. We don't need a centralized entity that'll take away 30% of fees or a Ticketmaster, et cetera, right? You can do NFT tickets and have all the code be verified. When I'm doing, math, I can do it in my head, or I'll trust the calculator, right? Why do we trust all of these people for all these things? Obviously, there's a lot of incredible technology built, but that's one side, is just looking at what are the different problems we face. On the other side as well, we have, outside of the U.S. especially.
So let me pause.
Oh, yeah.
Double click on
we can go on a lot of
problems. So problems that we face. We'll touch base on a couple of these. So you said the legislation side.
Yep.
According to this legislation, decentralizing a few of the where there are centralized entities, they're extracting a fair amount of value. The Airbnb cleaning fees, which you have to do your own, take out your trash, do all your own work anyway.
Of course.
But then you still have to pay the cleaning fee.
Verify all that on chain that you did it yourself. You don't have to pay the fee. I send the fund right now. We're going down the rabbit hole. But the other problems, right? There's real problems in the world that are solved by crypto. There are, so many people in this world that do not have access to banks, both physically or digitally, right? And that alone is where a lot of this comes from. Protecting the open economy is the mission of Open Zeppelin. My family comes from Argentina. A lot of the organization's family does too. And there was a bank run there back in 2008.
Argentina, the numbers are...
The inflation is going crazy. And right, it is actually a need, right, to use blockchain technology, to use crypto, to send payments, to hold value to your funds so that, week over week, you're not losing half your paycheck to inflation, right? And that is value. And that is something that blockchain is able to, do today. The regulations are, where we're finding gaps, right? And trying to apply centuries-old regulation to a novel technology. We're seeing that failing with copyright and how that's looking at, a lot of media and the rise of the internet. Old laws cannot govern, modern technology.
Yeah.
And as much as we like to apply them, it's about having honest conversations of where do we meet in the middle, right? And blanket regulation is probably not the answer, just like it's not in any other industry, but ensuring that we're stewarding a more responsible future, right? That's the goal. And bringing in
tagline, stewarding a more responsible future. That's the Open Zeppelin new tagline.
Exactly. Well, we'll see if it runs by the copy team, which is. But anyway, I think when we look at what crypto is bringing, what blockchain is bringing, what regulation is bringing, we need to talk to the Web3 natives, right? Who are the people building and using this daily? The young people, the people fighting for this behind the scenes, just like we did with the internet, to be able to make it what it is today. And so it's about, polling all of the different voices, not just having the same siloed conversations and the same talking points. And, part of that is going out and showing activism, right? If you're young and you're in crypto, you have to have your voice be out there because you're the ones that understand it, right? The 19-year-olds who have grown up with blockchain understand it just like us growing up with the internet understood it, just like, and it goes back and back. But at a certain age, you become the one who doesn't understand. For me, it's TikTok. I don't get the dances. They're device constrained, portrait mode dances. Back in our day, we had incredible things like Soulja Boy where you go off screen. They can't do that anymore. You're gone. So anyway, that's how, when I'm like, I don't understand technology, but I understand its value, and it's billions and billions of people are using this, and obviously has an incredible potential when you're bringing in a new creator economy. And so, yeah, the young people are who get it. They're the ones who need to make their voices heard.
We've seen it. We saw, Lee Bratcher did a presentation at Crypto Monday here, on Monday, a couple days ago, and we did the breakdown of, the survey of Texans that are pro Bitcoin, anti Bitcoin, breakdown. It really does break down along age demographics. So, when you hit the 65 crowd, 65 plus, no interest, no knowledge, see it unfavorably. And, the younger crowd, it's the inverse, right? So at some point, the younger crowd becomes the older crowd, and then there'll be a new technology. There'll be something else, like you said, but no, that's great. So, well, thanks for stopping by today. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you guys want to touch on? And you can go back to your marketing team and say, hey, look, I've got the soundbite that you guys wanted.
Yeah, I think if we're going to just try and capture a soundbite, for Open Zeppelin, it's really about ensuring that security is at the forefront when we're building the future, right? Innovation needs to happen, but we need to make sure we're moving in lockstep with the best practices, ensuring that we're up to date on the latest attack vectors, sharing this research, and that way we can get past, get to the future state where blockchain is an everyday, use. It is actually adding the benefit that we all see, right? So again, we provide that when it comes to products, services, solutions, technology, and we want to make sure that we keep building a safer future. So
that's great. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Amazing. It was great to connect.
All right.
Cheers.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We had a great time here at Consensus. At the Texas Blockchain Council, we are striving to be the nexus between traditional industries, banking, finance, legal, energy, and the digital asset industry. So we want to help you get your brand in front of those kinds of companies with B2B opportunities. Reach out to us if that's of interest for membership or for sponsorship at the summit. Hope to see you there in November in Fort Worth. Thanks again. We look forward to seeing you at the summit.